talking about glaciers, we have more than 46,000 glaciers alone on the Tibetan Plateau. Some say it's 36,000, which lies within the PRC, so-called Tibet. When this plateau heats up, it draws in moisture from the Bay of Bengal. So at some point, Tibetan Plateau is also very important in creating or triggering the South Asian summer monsoon, which is also very important for most of the Southeast Asian countries. So the glacier coverage has already melted. And the one thing which worries us all, not only the Tibetans but all the Asian countries, is since 1950, the net accumulation of snow on these mountains is zero. No net accumulation of snow. So this is something that triggers a huge worry, especially in these days when they talk about the food security, the water security. Since Tibetan Plateau is also considered as the water tower of Asia, and Jordan Kam, he has mentioned that the 20% of the glaciers have already retreated in the past 40 years. And if the trend continues, if the current trend continues, that means the rate at which the carbon dioxide, the GHG gas is injected, the next 60% or more than 60% would be lost in the next 40 years. 80 to 90% of the whole plateau is permafrost. Permafrost means frozen soil which remains in the state of frozen for more than 2 years. So this frozen soil, when it gets heated up, it causes all the problem. So I'll try to speak in very simple language. So speaking about some scientific data, we have found that this Tibetan Plateau approximately has say 1.4 million square kilometer of permafrost and the remaining on seasonally frozen grounds. That means these soils have trapped a lot of carbons inside. So when the permafrost starts to degrade, these carbons, they are injected in the atmosphere, which is these days they are called as a positive feedback, which disturbs the whole carbon pool on the plateau. So at some point it also disturbs the whole monsoon cycle. Resource exploitation. So this is something that CTA totally, ETD or Environment Desk totally does not accept mining in any form on the Tibetan Plateau, whether it's a big scale or small scale, as long as it is not benefiting the local people and polluting the water streams.
It has the greatest hydro potential in the world, and that's being abused. It's being exploited by a lot of nations, particularly China. Other nations are doing it too. India's doing it, and Arunachal Pradesh, huge hydro potential, but China is number one. China has half of the world's dams, big dams in China, and they want to double that number in the next 10 years, their hydro potential. Most of that hydro potential is in Sichuan, Yunnan, and that's where a lot of the big dams are going on. And the impact on the nations downstream is going to be catastrophic. So I'm going to show us growing, right? So in terms of water security and food security, the rivers from Tibet are extremely important. So if you interfere with the rivers, you're about to create a disaster, because there's several billion people downstream that depend on those rivers for the rice, for the fish, for the silt, for numerous reasons. So something about Burma here: 95% of the electricity that's generated from the dams built by the Chinese in Burma is slated to go back to China, if you can imagine that. They build the dam, 95% of the electricity goes back into China via UHV lines, which is a brand new technology the Chinese are working on. They can carry the electricity long distances, as far as Shanghai or Beijing, where the demand for the electricity is. And, China keeps telling you, we're building these dams for Tibetans. Tibetans need the electricity. This is baloney. Tibetans never needed the electricity. They still don't, and they don't get the benefits. It's the factories, it's the mining. You need a lot of electricity to operate mines. You can't operate the mines without the electricity. You need a lot of water too. So that's one example, is Burma. Another two examples would be Bangladesh. Bangladesh, two rivers coming in. One is from Tibet, Tsangpo. It's flooding, often floods, and then the other one is the Ganges, which comes in from India. Both of those rivers are being dammed. The Indians are damming the Ganges, and the Chinese are damming the Brahmaputra. They just started, brand new. And then at the other end of the country, you've got rising sea levels. And Bangladesh is dead flat, hot, crowded, and they're just going to get hammered from both directions, from the rivers flooding, and then the dams, and then the rising sea levels. Total catastrophe if this goes ahead. even 1 meter sea level rise, But the dams have a huge impact because the silt does not come down. These are not small dams. These are the biggest dams in the world. We said 2 dams on the Mekong in this film. It's actually 4 now. They're ahead of schedule. So 4 dams, including the Shao one, 292 meters, largest arch dam in the world. It's colossal. I don't have a picture of that, but these are mega projects. They're going to get worse, these mega projects. Chinese have some crazy ideas about diverting water, and they're fully intending to.
What is happening to the Tibetan nomads right now, at this very moment, is one of the most dangerous things happening to the Tibetan nation, to the Tibetan people, to our history. Major reasons is the fact that they want to clear the mountains, clear the valleys, and clear the way for resource extraction. Completely reckless, greed-driven resource extraction that they are carrying out in Tibet. Because the nomads are the ones who are resisting mining. They're the ones who are resisting dam buildings. They're the ones who are resisting Chinese encroachment into these lands. And once the nomads en masse get removed from a certain area, then there's no one objecting, or there's no one who's in the way, standing in the way between the Chinese government and all of Tibet's resources, natural resources. Mental cost. For Tibet, the loss is completely irreplaceable, because the nomads have been the ones who are the true guardians of Tibetan culture and Tibetan tradition, and in fact the Tibetan ecology. Many people think that we say that nomads have been surviving on the Tibetan plateau for so long, but actually surviving is not necessarily the most accurate word. They have been maintaining the Tibetan plateau for all these years. You put any other kind of people up there, they will not be able to maintain the plateau. It is not just that the nomads are sort of, dependent on the grassland, and they are taking, they're making a livelihood out of the land and the resources. In fact, what they have done over these thousands of years is the experiential wisdom and knowledge and science that they have accumulated is so deep and rich that many of the things that new and expensive research are finding out just now or just last year, these are actually things that the nomads have known for centuries. They already know these things, and they are practicing these things. But now all of this science, all of this human knowledge is completely being destroyed, and for the crisis that is facing the nomads is something that is little known outside of Tibet. What is even less known is the fact that there is resistance to the Chinese government systematic destruction of the nomadic life. The Tibetan nomads are resisting. They are taking action. And for many of us, that is something that is very comforting to know that. There is a particular clause in Chinese law saying that companies are not allowed to mine on sites that are believed to be holy or sacred. And these mountains that many of the local peoples hold very dear and sacred, now in some areas Tibetans have started making stone graffitis of mantras to make it actually very obvious to the blind companies that this is actually a sacred mountain. Don't tread on it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but people are experimenting with new tactics, and that's something that's very, very positive and creative. And their lifestyle includes movement. They don't have a fixed address. And the Chinese government decides that they want to force an address on everybody so that they can control everyone, they can watch everyone, they can monitor everyone, they can restrict people's movement. And these are two of the main reasons why they are carrying out this unprecedented ethnocide right now.